GPS. When that first came out in the late 80s, old school guys like myself, we've been out there with chains and EDMs and measuring distances. We were very, very skeptical about that stuff because it just seemed like voodoo magic.
Currently in the industry, when everyone is evaluating a sensor, rarely do you have the chance to see data sets from multiple different manufacturers that are all of the same exact location. We wanted to take our 3 sensors that we own as a company and show our traditional land surveyors that it's accurate data, and it doesn't necessarily matter what sensor it comes from. All that matters is that if you apply the sensor correctly and follow your due diligence, that you can create repeatable results across multiple sensors where you don't have to necessarily be skeptical and shoot a ton of check shots for every project just because you're not really sure you can trust it.
Because if a guy like me is going to put his signature on a map, then he has to have a comfort level that he can rely on it and that he knows that it's good. And after a period of time, it became very, very clear that there's really good, accurate data coming out of these instruments.
And so the big thing for us was finding the best sensor that's going to fit our company and the jobs that we're doing. We felt that providing this data to the public and allowing everyone to see it and load it in and compare it gives people the ability to see what those trade-offs are. The systems, when used correctly, can meet our surveyors' needs in our company.
For any of you guys that are out here that might be just saying, man, what kind of sensor do I need to use to get this kind of accuracy on this kind of project? Well, they've proved here that you can get fairly good accuracies with any of these sensors if it's done properly.
And so getting the data sets in the hands of people that's applicable to what they do is what we want to do.
My name's Daniel Brice. I'm the operations manager for Allen & Company. Allen & Company's been around for about 35 years. We're a land surveyor company. We have a subsurface utilities exploration department. And part of my department of the advanced technologies is we have laser scanners and drones. So I joined the Army and I was with them for 12 years, did geospatial analyst. I left and started working for Leidos as a geospatial analyst. Happened to be driving to work one day, saw Allen & Company's truck. It said geospatial. I called them, and Mark Marion hired me. So with that, I've been with Allen & Company now for 3 years in the advanced technology department, learning how to laser scan, learning how to fly the drones and process them.
So my name's James Rush. I've been with Allen & Company for about 6 months, but I have about coming up on 10 years of experience with Lidar, mostly focused in airborne, fixed wing, and helicopter acquisition with larger sensors.
All right, and my name's Aaron Byrd. So I'll get this out of the way. Yes, I'm related to Matthew Byrd, so I'm sure that'll be a question. He's my second oldest son. And I'm a licensed land surveyor, been in California land surveying for about 36 years. And so been a fast adapter to the technology through the years. So I have a good sense of what it takes to get this technology in the hands of the licensed land surveyor, because a lot of us are very old school and very skeptical of some of this data. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today.
So like I said, Allen & Company, we're a land surveying company. We also provide 3D laser scanning, for underground utilities. We do also aerial mapping with Lidar photogrammetry drones. For our laser scanners, we have mobile mapping, SLAM, terrestrial, and aerial Lidar. Within our company as well, we also do 811 damage prevention, so like dig, or call before you dig. We also do bathymetric and hydrographic mapping. We have a commercial or a construction and builders department as well. And we're also into the model and simulation.
So Tucker Ranch, we started this out as a way to prove to people in our company like Aaron, who are surveyors. So Allen & Company, 35 years surveying. Getting into this industry, they kind of have their way that they've done it for 35 years, and they've been super successful with it. Huge client base in Central Florida, and just slammed with work. And so coming into this, they're skeptical of the accuracy of the surfaces that the AT department is giving them. And so We have a site that's close to our office in Winter Garden, Florida, greater Orlando area, we'll say, for people who aren't familiar, that we use for training. So when someone's new to the team, we'll go take them out there and they can learn total stations, learn how to operate our sensors. We have an RTC 360, a VLX2, and so it's a training ground. And so we decided, because so many people are out there training, we can have really good control that gets checked and verified often on that site. And then we started scanning it to then create surfaces for them to go out when they're training and shoot their own check shots and verify our surfaces, so that to build that trust with them over time. And so this is just a brief overview of our project team. A lot of people within our company have kind of touched this project in one way or another and helped us get where we are right now. So so kind of how it started is we wanted to take our 3 sensors that we own as a company right now and show our traditional land surveyors that it's accurate data, and it doesn't necessarily matter what sensor it comes from. All that matters is that if you apply the sensor correctly and follow your due diligence with setting your control, using it, and mapping in the correct way, that you can create repeatable results across multiple sensors and get reliable results where you don't have to necessarily be skeptical and shoot a ton of check shots for every project just because you're not really sure you can trust it.
So from the survey side, as I said, one of the things we're really excited about, I'm the professional land surveyor responsible for all the surveying services with Nexus 3D Consulting. And so we're really excited about the teaming venture that we have going with Allen and Company, bringing our side of the reality capture world into the survey side of Allen and Company with their existing AT division. So one of the things that old school guys like myself, we're skeptical about this new technology. I can talk a little bit about back in the day when GPS, I mean, everybody's got GPS right here on their phone right now. When that first came out in the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of us surveyors we've been out there with chains and EDMs and measuring distances. We were very, very skeptical about that stuff because it just seemed like voodoo magic, like some of the stuff we've been seeing up here. It just seems unreasonably amazing. And so, but that changed. GPS changed the landscape of surveyors, their workflows. It absolutely revolutionized what we did and the amount of work that we were able to get done at the same cost, really. We could double our production at least compared to the older line of sight type surveying. So when land surveyors started seeing this laser scanning technology come out, I was really early to adopt it. I thought, oh man, this is great. That is, as soon as it got affordable for small companies, because in the beginning, no small company could afford to buy it. So it took a while for that to happen. But once that did happen, we grabbed onto it, and we did a lot of the things that the AT department here at Allen has really done internally. Is we had to prove it out. We had to prove it to ourselves. I had to see that the data was good and accurate, and we just kept checking it, and we kept checking it. And after a period of time, it became very, very clear that, look, as long as we follow proper procedures, this data is great. There's really good, accurate data coming out of these instruments. So that's kind of the process that we went through. And so from a surveyor's perspective, I got a ton of respect for what Allen has done, spending the time and effort to do this internally just to prove and show and give the confidence level to all of their professional surveyors within their organization that they can rely on this data. Because if they can't rely on the data, then there's no use for the data. Because if a guy like me is going to put his signature on a map and says that data is good, accurate, and reliable, then he has to have a comfort level that he can rely on it and that he knows that it's good. So I'm really impressed with what these guys have done with this project.
Yeah, so that's kind of how Tucker Ranch started, but from there it quickly evolved. So Allen and Company, we have our suite of 3 sensors that we owned and were using, but we had been looking at purchasing another sensor. And so since we had already collected the Tucker Ranch property with our sensors, it was an opportunity to engage outside vendors to come in and scan it, and then we would have a way to directly compare that data. And we saw the value in that could potentially be for other companies that are in the market for a sensor, because currently in the industry, when everyone is evaluating a sensor, rarely do you have the chance to see data sets from multiple different manufacturers that are all of the same exact location, that has a variety of things. One thing that's nice about Tucker Ranch is I should have had an overhead shot of it earlier, but it's a park that has a bunch of trees in the middle of it with playground equipment, a couple gazebos. It has an ADA ramp in it with a full parking lot around it, fields on the sides, and then some trees. But you'll be able to see that in some of the data later on. So you don't get that opportunity to see all of these data sets from all of these different manufacturers in one location. And so it quickly evolved into something that was a little more external than internal, because we wanted to share those data sets to help other people make informed decisions. And so here's just a quick vendors and partners that helped us. So some of them are resellers for software for hardware that's not direct, and then we work direct with a handful of manufacturers as well. And so here's just a video that kind of walks through all of the data sets. And so I'll just kind of let this play for a second.
And I think it's important to make you understand that this video, the data sets you're seeing are from all kinds of different types of capture devices. So the sensors are either a terrestrial scanner on a tripod, they might be a drone mounted Lidar sensor, they might be a SLAM sensor that you're carrying around. So they're all some photogrammetry. So there are several different types of sensors used here as well.
Yeah. So the benefit of this in regards to that is you can kind of see some of the trade-offs. And so the big thing for us, as we were kind of in this journey of buying another sensor, was finding the best sensor that's going to fit our company and the jobs that we're doing. There may be better options out there for doing utility work, but if your primary business is creating surfaces and topography, then you might not need certain sensors. You might, if you're primarily scanning warehouses and industrial infrastructure, then a terrestrial scanner might be good for you. And so seeing kind of the trade-offs in these, whereas with a terrestrial scanner, you're gonna have significant increase in time in terms of capture. And then depending on the software suite and the accuracies you're going through, you're gonna have processing time on the back end. So with that terrestrial scanner, you have highly accurate data, super rich point clouds and point density, and you have the ability to set the scanner up wherever you want. You can get it into areas where a mobile system or a UAS system wouldn't be able to fit. But the negative trade-off is going to be your time spent in the field. Whereas with a mobile system, if you're just worried about paint lines and kind of hard surface features, you can typically drive a site like Tucker Ranch in a matter of minutes and collect all of that, and then you're already done the field work and you're into the office. But if you care about what's in the middle of the project, you don't get good penetration through trees into an area. So here's a mobile data set, and there's a little bit of a blind spot in the middle because the lasers can't see through everything. Whereas if you don't need the accuracy and but if you don't need the point density of, say, a mobile system or a terrestrial system, then there's UAS systems where you can collect a site very quickly. I think Tucker Ranch for certain systems was collected in under 18 minutes with one battery on our drone. So it's a trade-off between all of these features on the sensors, and figuring out which one's going to suit your workflow the best is kind of where we were trying to go with this, because we wanted to make a versatile decision, because some of these manufacturers sell sensors that can be terrestrial sensors, but also can be mounted onto a car to be a mobile unit. Some of the SLAM sensors can go from a drone to a handheld to a backpack all seamlessly. So it just depends on the integration that's going to work best for you. And we felt that providing this data to the public and allowing everyone to see it and load it in and compare it and fly through it, walk through it themselves, gives people the ability to see what those trade-offs are. We felt it had a pretty good representation of as many different things that we could show in one data set without kind of making it too big or too spread out. But it definitely did start out as an internal, and then we kind of moved to an external plan. And this is kind of where some of the results came into. Because we started this out as internal, we only placed true targets down for the sensors that we owned. And then when we were engaging with vendors, we asked them to come and scan the sites. And for some of them, they flew in and spent their time and money to scan the site to then provide us the data to be included in this study. But it wasn't always when we were available to send a crew out there to place targets. So we didn't feel that we could assess an XY horizontal accuracy onto this data, because not everyone had the same exact targets that were surveyed in. So we looked at the Z values and we averaged the categories of the participants to not single anyone out, and show that it's more the systems, when used correctly, can meet our surveyors' needs in our company, and that they can trust it and we can move forward. And so as you can see here, I think the worst average is 300, a little over 300s. And this was, we had 6 control points, and then this was done over 6 check shots around the park. So it's not the most scientific, and if we kind of restarted from the beginning, we would have fixed targets out there. Everyone would have horizontal targets, vertical targets, and we would have all of it shot in and be able to kind of do that analysis. But because it kind of evolved and snowballed into something bigger than what we had intended it for, we felt that this was kind of the best way to fairly show the accuracy, because some of these data sets from the manufacturers are unadjusted. They're fresh out of the software. They've never been adjusted to control in any way, shape, or form, where then you have some of the SLAM sensors where part of the processing to get them globally positioned is referencing them to those control points.
Yeah, so I think the takeaway from this slide is just to say, for guys like myself, for guys like the classic traditional surveyors that are within the Allen organization, is to just say, look, no matter what your project needs are, there's a variety of different ways that data can be captured, and it can be captured accurately. And so that was the point we're trying to get across. These guys were trying to get across. I've just kind of stepped in here to give from a surveyor's perspective. So I'm really impressed with this process, and I think that the goal has been met here internally, and I believe it's a great asset to have externally for any of you guys that are out here that might be just saying, man, what kind of sensor do I need to use to get this kind of accuracy on this kind of project? Well, they've proved here that you can get fairly good accuracies on with any of these sensors if it's done properly. And so I think that's a great example of that.
Yeah, and we definitely want to expand on this, because it kind of snowballed into what it is. But moving forward, we want to work with these manufacturers and these vendors to get more data for the consumer. So we want to get scan times for the scanners, processing times for each of the scanners, using the same site, making sure that if we're comparing UAS sensors, that they flew a similar pattern. One didn't fly eight passes in a grid format, whereas the other one just flew 2. That's not exactly a comparable data set when you're looking at it one-to-one without removing flight lines. So we want to kind of create those standards and then work with the manufacturers to kind of create a more rigid comparison, so that people can see that scanner A might have a 30-second scan time, and then a 20-minute office time processing per scan, kind of that breakdown. later on down the road. Should advance to that one sooner. But so that's kind of where we want to move to in the future. And we hope to work with these more manufacturers in this way, and kind of share this information with everyone to help make informed decisions for the industry, and so that people aren't getting that canned data set of the Eiffel Tower and saying, wow, this is a great sensor, but you're never going to scan the Eiffel Tower. You're scanning a warehouse somewhere every day. And so getting the data sets in the hands of people that's applicable to what they do is kind of what we want to do.
This QR code right here, you can scan this, or you can go to the booth or any of the Allen and Company teams. They have the sticker on the back of their badge. Scan it, go on there, fill it out. You can put your information on it. And then at the bottom of it, every sensor that was used on this data set for Tucker Ranch, you can select which one you want, download it, and I think it has the data set itself, and I think it has the control files with it, or is it just the data set?
It has the data sets and the control, and then there's also a PDF white paper that we wrote that accompanies this that goes into a lot more detail in terms of the different scanner types, the advantages and disadvantages that they each present, and then kind of our process in getting here in much more detail than what we covered today in our short time that we were able to be up here. So if nobody kind of has the iPad questions, I mean, if anybody has any questions, you can just holler. Thank you everyone for having us, and thank you to RCN for putting on this great conference.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.